does oftentimes come down to a little bit to the bracket luck. In the bottom right of Gresvan for this initial best of 5, initial game in this best of 5, we do have Clem. And on the top left, it is ShoWTimE. I was just talking to chat saying that oftentimes Clem max packs in the finals because of the way the bracket is seeded. ShoWTimE Clem can happen in the semis, and it does often get won by Clem. Or ShoWTimE versus max packs, which is also often won by max packs. ShoWTimE, certainly a huge contender to make it to the finals of every Open Cup that he signs up for, but he's not nearly as consistent as Clem, max packs, Hero Marine. Yeah, those are still absolutely the most consistent players. Raynor would be too if he always played Zerg, but he just doesn't, so. He's a little more unreliable. We have ourselves a good matchup on paper. If you just look at the names, you're like, oh, hell yeah, Clem. Oh, hell yeah, ShoWTimE. Let's go. But actually, if you look at the stats, if you look at the data, it's not maybe the best matchup. Something about Clem's style seems to not gel well with ShoWTimE's, or vice versa. ShoWTimE has lost the last 6 times they face off against each other. And if we talk about just like a year of games, ShoWTimE's only won 3 series, it looks like, since last year. Last June, July, thereabouts. 3 series out of like a dozen, so that's not... It's not a particularly good sign for ShoWTimE, who, again, is a Protoss in the year 2023, having some tough times. I will say that ShoWTimE is clearly displaying interest in different styles of play, so if this really is a more stylistic issue, because I think it can be. I don't think Clem is invulnerable to Protosses. I mean, heck, he just had trouble against max packs, right? But if it is a style issue, then ShoWTimE displaying a different style of play might just be what he needs to end this loss streak against Clem. But that said, anytime that someone does something out of their comfort zone, or perhaps not comfort zone, but does something they don't always do, it's going to be a little worse. And I would say that is mostly true for ShoWTimE, although I kept on underestimating his potential against Spirit with the style of play he was showing. And I'll accept, you know, being wrong. Fine, whatever. I would say that if I were to say, like, who was and who can be the best at that gateway style of play, it probably wouldn't be ShoWTimE. I mean, he can do it well, obviously, but I would have gone with Hero Resist. And not too many non-Koreans, actually. So I'm saying that ShoWTimE, peak ShoWTimE, defensive ShoWTimE, reserved ShoWTimE, you know, making sure not to die to Clem's aggression. Fantastic player. Absolutely fantastic. Definitely a contender, but probably the style in which Clem feels most comfortable against, because then Clem can do all of his things, dot his I's, cross his T's, and that's putting Clem in a very good position. Should ShoWTimE try to do something a little outside of that, you know, like the Mass Gateway, or like, well, yeah, basically Mass Gateway, I guess, then I feel like he's like a 90% ShoWTimE, you know, not bad at all, but 100% ShoWTimE with his usual style of play struggles against Clem, while a 90% ShoWTimE with a slightly different style of play actually do better. I don't know. That's the story to me, anyways. And ShoWTimE is going into a Stargate opener. Only 1 extra gas coming down, however. He might actually transfer over into a Twilight Council, but after 2 Oracles, that is a little more uncommon. He has certainly done his share of 1 Oracle Twilight Council openers, but yeah, 2 not usually when you go into a Twilight Council. So we do actually have going into Phoenix. And the Phoenix, oh, it's not a Phoenix, it's an Oracle. Well, this Phoenix might still arrive in time to help out against the drop. It won't stop the Widow Mines from firing, but it might be able to chase down the medevac if it had to choose. Oh, 2 Hellions as well. Hello. He did react throughout those Widow Mines. I did notice that. I did not realize he got Hellions, but those Hellions just got torn down. Lickety-split. The Adepts are in the right situation, the right place, right time. And now it is all about the Probe Bull, which was a little late. A little late. Could have been worse, though. 1 Phoenix, 1 shot, survives. And then the other shot went to 3 probes. Could have been on 16. Okay, it could have been much, much worse. Looks like the Oracle harassment continued during this, and one Oracle did lose its life. So this is overall not a super strong start for ShoWTimE, but it is stronger than Clem's. Clem did sacrifice his medevac and Widowmine drop after all, thanks to the Phoenix. They also have a little bit of a counterattack. I mean, ShoWTimE built up all these adepts. Why just leave them at home? They're going to get worse with time. Going for a counterattack might just be a very good move. Not even a move out of opportunity. You know, just like, oh, I got these adepts, why not? But like an actual good move. The adepts only tackling the Marines. The Cyclones taken out of the equation. Marines on the high ground taken down by the last remnants of the energy on the Oracle, which does eventually go down, but I think it really helped out. 8 SCVs are dead already. More to come, I would assume, as the adepts could focus fire. And they are not. They actually just free fired on top of the Marines, so maybe that could have been 2 or 3 extra SCVs. It ends at 9. 2 adepts live, 3 Phoenix live. Overall, I would say a very worthwhile counterattack. Absolutely. Clem is able to recover, though. It's not like the end of the world. That wasn't a game-ending attack. ShoWTimE still needs to make sure to be prepared for Clem's first move out with medevacs, which should be on the way kind of soon. Not with these exact medevac, like, popping timing, which sometimes happens. You know, the Terran army's already moving across the map while the medevacs are building. Not this game, but perhaps once... Oh, another round of bio pops out. That was one bit faster medevac. He uses it to pick up. Very dangerous maneuver against someone playing Phoenix, but he manages to do so without being seen. And for all ShoWTimE knows, that's the first medevac, and the second one was even later. It's getting awfully suspicious now, the more that one medevac shows, not 2. 1, not 2, 1, not 2. Where's the other one? They always come in pairs with, like, Sif. Come on. Is he figuring this out? He is planting down pylons to try and scout for something like this. He already had this one planted, so that's going to do the trick. Does he have the ability to reinforce at home? Just a couple of stalkers, all that's necessary. Clem's going to take what he can get, which is the pylon. The Phoenix return home to ensure the death of the medevac, but that means they've lost track of the army on the front lines. This one observer, not even surveillance mode, had no chance of seeing this move. Looks like ShoWTimE predicted it nonetheless, started warping in on his third base as a shield battery, force fields, an immortal, and a Colossus. Very well timed, just popped out. And that medevac might actually be a goner. Zealots and Phoenix giving chase. Phoenix do need the help of Zealots. And there we go. I assume that is a goner. The question is, does ShoWTimE need those units back at home as the attack actually maneuvers over to the left side? A couple of last-second force fields might just do the trick, make this a beautiful defense from ShoWTimE. In fact, very well done, almost easy. As the Zealots that chase down that one medevac come home, they actually trade somewhat efficiently with the Widowmines one at a time. And now the Phoenix find the medevacs! Oh, taking the wrong turn. No support whatsoever. Both of them going to fall before the reinforcements come into play. Clem, now 30 supply down, also getting friendly fired by his own Widowmine. ShoWTimE, he sees the opportunity and he is not going to miss right now. He's going for it. He's hoping the Zealots can get one, maybe last surround, and then that would really do the trick. It looks like this round will not be gained. Third CC has to be canceled, though, and Clem is in a lot of trouble, especially as the Colossus will continue to be a big bully. There's not much you can do against the Colossus. As long as it is properly protected by charge lots on the ground, there is nothing he can do, which means the Colossus can free fire all at once. No Warp Prism does perhaps put a timer on this aggression, so maybe, just maybe, Clem can muster up a defense and a counterattack, but he is once again down to 1 fight to win the game. Similar to game 2 of him versus MaxPax. And he's not even winning his defensive fight, so it does not bode well. Perhaps if Clem could settle on 2 bases with 1-1 and pull the SCVs, he might still have a chance. But he's not even settling on 2 bases. He's still under threat. He's still under fire. And he's actually very close to potentially even losing the game. Finally, some of those Widowmines popped off favorably, though. ShoWTimE losing a lot of that buffer. Needs to still be careful of being concaved, right? If there's 8 Marauders and 6 medevacs, and they're actually able to take this full concave against 2 Colossus and Immortal and just 2 Zealots, throwing out numbers, those Colossus are in a lot of trouble. So ShoWTimE does need to be very careful. It's not a delicate army, but if the Zealots die, then it is. That's something that Clem is still hoping will happen, but he's actually furthered his SimCity problem by making his 3rd CC down in the natural. I guess... Well, it depends on how you look at it, actually. He's helped it against the Zealots, and he's hurt it against the Colossus. So, you know. It's a bit tough. Marauders are leading these engagements, and they're very healthy. They are chunky. They got that 1-1 against 0-0, so even the Colossus, 2 at a time, cannot actually burn them down. And that's exactly what Clem is trying to take advantage of. But this is such a desperate situation for the Terran. As much as I really want to give credit to Clem for holding on like this, because this is kind of amazing, it's not going to be enough, probably. One Colossus falls, the other one very much close to death. Last of the Phoenix also getting torn down. ShoWTimE might be overplaying this. Maybe. He is on 4 bases. He's got 6 gateways. That's not a lot, actually. That is not a lot. He is banking tons of money. His reinforcements not coming in fast enough. Hold on here. As ShoWTimE made too big of a mistake, the last Colossus falls. The Warp Prism only barely able to escape, but it is holding a very weakened Colossus. ShoWTimE, he doesn't have the production. He missed the opportunity to end the game, and instead of just going, okay, whatever, man, and building up back home, he really... Now overstayed his welcome. He really misplayed the macro side of things. He's only up to 8 gateways, which is like an okay amount now, but to have an okay amount so late into this is very, very concerning. Only 1 robo as well, so replacing the robo units is not easy at all. Big drop into the main base. The Vikings are going to be able to help out against the Phoenix. And then if any Colossus does appear, they're going to have a fantastic shooting point for it. At this point in time, the scan reveals the Disruptor. The Vikings could land, or we're going to try and evacuate. Only 2 Stalkers there to stop this, so he's going to go to the 3rd base. He's able to maneuver around as the Stalker count could not chase on the right side. It's still a very, very, very dangerous game for Clem, but it is now more dangerous than ever for ShoWTimE as he's also supply blocked. That 4th Nexus now in trouble as the rest of the army collides together. Vikings do end up landing, providing a lot of DPS and buffer against the charge lot. ShoWTimE, he had this game in the bag, and he misplayed the aggression, which I would say he doesn't actually often do. I know I talked a lot about how ShoWTimE's not necessarily the most aggressive Protoss, but he knows how to read a situation like that. He's been in that situation many, many times, and he definitely mismacroed. He actually made a fundamental mistake, not seen often amongst the pros, and certainly not seen often in ShoWTimE's games, and he is paying for it. It is now back to a Clem favorite situation, as he did grab a 3rd CC, right? This was an SCV pool, it's a very different story, but he did grab a 3rd CC. He has retained a lot of his bio and many of his medevacs, despite the flying around that he was doing. The upgrades have evened up and are about to be favorable for ShoWTimE, but will it be too late? He is so dependent on these disruptors buying him time and actually getting shots, which is a very dangerous situation as a defensive Protoss. These are usually kind of more like stopgaps, you know, something that you get to if you're on the defense is a bit of a Hail Mary, and then when you can calm things down, you get back to Colossus, which is exactly what ShoWTimE's doing. And then when things really calm down or even become favorable for the Protoss again, then they go back into almost pure Disruptor Stalker. But only Disruptors with a handful of gateway units is not the best defensive setup. It's so hard to deal with drops, as we see here, multiple attacks of any type, and honestly concaves. Like, the Disruptors eventually run out of ammo. ShoWTimE now down 20 supply, almost, 30 of it in army, actually. However, things are about to get topsy-turvy. Warp Prism harassment finally coming in here, now actually making this game very questionable. Zealots will eventually cleared up, but they did kill a decent number of SCVs. Colossus also finally popped. Finally, the 3 robos that came down way too late are finally affecting this game, and it looks like Clem is not going to be able to find any further success as he is finally, maybe, really pushed back. He doesn't have an answer to the Colossus, and the Disruptor count is quite high. That Oracle was randomly placed, also got taken down. That is some of the only vision that ShoWTimE has. So ShoWTimE might have a sturdy army when it's in position with a shield battery, but it has no vision on the map, basically at all. No observer to clear out Widowmine should they come back into play. A couple of dropped units dealing with the Disruptor on the left side. 3 robos are so intimidating. And at this point, ShoWTimE's going to go into 4 Colossus. Disruptor is actually a little bit alone. Managed to get a strike. Lots of carnage and blood right there. Lots of dead bodies. That is a good sign for ShoWTimE, who absolutely needed that to just take a breath. Finally, with that attack from the Disruptor, he is able to breathe, but he's a 3-base Protoss who has had to replace many expensive units and is almost down the last mineral patches. Clem, of course, economically not much different, but I think his 3rd CC, his 3rd economy is a little bit healthier. And of course, as a Terran player, you have the option to lift. So, as long as Clem keeps up the aggression, his fourth, if you will remain intact. Usually when this happens, a couple of zealots just ruin your day, and it kind of snowballs from there. So applying the pressure is as important, or more so, at this point in time. ShoWTimE really does just need a couple of zealots every minute, every 30 seconds. And it's going to be such a bother for Clem. The 2-2 upgrades now also added on to a Colossus army is really intimidating. When it was just Disruptors and Gateways, it's a bit different. Liberators pop up, though, and that is a big deal. Takes a lot of shots from Clem, from ShoWTimE to actually tackle, but Clem is forced to retreat. Most of his supply at this point is actually in medevacs. 17 medevacs? Holy shit! I thought he was at 10. 17? That's so much wasted supply. I'm gonna say that's like wasted supply. 7 medevacs could have easily been 7 Liberators faster. Or, of course, as Colossus made it onto the field, it could have been 7 Vikings. I know it's not a 1-to-1 on the cost, but it basically could have. That is so much supply. Oh my god. Every unit gets private health insurance. It's got a private doctor. That's pretty awesome. If it's Marauders, then maybe they never die. Not really all that great if it's Marines. Marines will still die to 4 Marines laser beaming them even if there's 17 medevacs. Next is going to be canceled as ShoWTimE struggles to actually get a 4th base up and running, despite having a, again, good army when it's set up defensively, when it's set up in general. If it's ever out of position, if it's ever not paid attention to for a hot second, it's quite vulnerable. And Clem really is trying to make this a very difficult game for ShoWTimE. Big drop into the main base, 1 full medevac shot down. I mean, that's a freaking crapshoot right there, right? Like, you could kill 5 empty medevacs before actually shooting one that matters. Oh my god. At least Clem, picked up on the amount of medevacs and is now moving over into Viking and Liberator production every now and again. ShoWTimE still just desperately trying to get a 4th base as his last few minerals look to be mined out in his natural. He's now going to be fully mining only from the 3rd. No, the Colossus! Oh, the Colossus! They did their little cliff walk thing down into the awaiting arms of the Vikings. Oh, painful, painful, painful. 2 Colossus down, 2 remain, 3 Disruptors, most of this army in sentries, which, I mean, they can be very helpful, but that's almost like a lazy split, actually. It's like he didn't think he needed to put a lot of effort into that one, and he probably didn't. As the reinforcements come through, the Vikings land for dealing with the Colossus. It will finally be curtains for ShoWTimE, who, yeah, I think was supposed to win this game. I do. I absolutely do. Look at the pro pool. I mean, why not? He didn't have any more mining to do. If he had pro pooled earlier, I really wonder how this game would have gone. ShoWTimE, though, is at half the army supply, and I know so much of the army supply is in medevacs. Clem is still producing. ShoWTimE is not. GG. Ah, that's painful, man. That is painful. Ancient Cistern will be the battlefield for game 2. After a very intense defense and emergency offense, Clem did take game number 1 and now spawns on the top right. ShoWTimE in the bottom left. That was all very impressive from Clem. No doubt, no doubt. I said it, actually. You know, I'd be really hyping this up if it wasn't such a drastic circumstance that Clem found himself in. It was an excellent defense, but I really figured that ShoWTimE had him. And I absolutely believe that if he had more production, he still would have had him. 100%. I do not believe that was a case of misreads. Which I usually own up to if I did. I mean, misread all of ShoWTimE's games versus Spirit. But that one I really think just relied purely on ShoWTimE not having extra production. Clem actually wasn't even all that prepared to strike back with, like, real vengeance. Even when I started exclaiming, you know, like, holy shit, ShoWTimE is banking too much, he doesn't have enough production. Even then, Clem's army, I think, was actually still manageable. The problem was, of course, ShoWTimE not being able to get settled. He wouldn't be able to warp in enough to defend multiple locations, or get his stalkers always in the right place to not just defend, but then also to punish. And Clem did, of course, play out the comeback very well. The defense was really good, and the comeback was very clutch, 100%. But it really did start with ShoWTimE messing up. If ShoWTimE did not mess up at that moment, the amount that he did, you know, especially for a pro gamer, he handles the follow-up much better. So it's still probably very exciting. Like, Clem probably does all the things that a person trying to make a comeback should do, and he does them well. But ShoWTimE has so much more of a stable defense. Doesn't lose his fourth base, doesn't lose any important units, and makes a very smooth transition over into 2-2 Colossus, Disruptor, Stalker, Charge, you know, yada. And he just couldn't. He was kind of, it was like he got knocked back and was finding his footing, and then Clem just kept knocking him back. So, of course, positives, Clem's pretty freaking good. Negatives, ShoWTimE made a big mistake. Almost inexcusable for a pro gamer. Focusing a little too much on actually trying to kill the freaking guy. Why won't you die? Keep on laser beaming ya. Just die. It's probably going through his head. It's a very, like a satisfying game, but then it's a little bit of bittersweetness, because not only do I like ShoWTimE, but I like both these players, but it's just one of those... It's one of those game losses that even though I'm not the player, I just kind of feel it in my bones. Just like, oh, I felt that one. Kind of like when guys see other guys get hit in the crotch. You know. We have another double Reaper opener from Clem. She did versus MaxPax. This was read by MaxPax actually quite quickly. This case, it is not necessarily read by ShoWTimE. Might still do well against it with the high ground adept placement. I think that was more coincidental than anything else. But the Oracle was always going to pop out, and the Oracle does handle things that don't shoot up pretty well. Even if the 3 Marines had lived, Oracle tackles 3 Marines too. So, it kind of actually a situation of both of them not scouting. ShoWTimE didn't realize there was going to be that type of aggression, but then Clem didn't realize that his opponent was going into Stargates, or perhaps more importantly, setting up on the high ground. So, it's like, it's a favorite ShoWTimE then. Cyclone and Medevac are on the way. Clem did follow up his aggression with a push on this map. This is actually exactly what happened versus Clem and MaxPax, right? This awkward situation over here. I think it is. It's like almost the exact same situation. However, the push is not the exact same. We do have a Medevac of Marines and a Cyclone on the way, but no tank. Second Cyclone instead, so not as much of a push, more harassment. I mean, it's going to be able to find someone who's only going into Oracles, which means the Medevac gets to fly around a lot. The Oracles probably have enough DPS to help out in this the defense. Yeah, for sure. But they can't chase this down. Actually, Clem being a little too stubborn about getting damage done right there. I don't think that was worth it much at all. Oh, there we go. There we go. Grabs the Oracle, but the shield battery is available, so never mind. And this aggression from Clem thus far has been a bit lackluster. His opener didn't work out. It's kind of coincidentally, again, both of them didn't scout each other. And then his follow-up didn't work out, and that seemed kind of obvious. I understand trying to get that Cyclone out, but you know what actually might have been the problem? It's a very small thing, but the problem might have actually been the Cyclone didn't come out first. Then it would have gotten maybe a more painful lock-on. It was a little more awkward because it was like Helene first into the Marines or something like that. Anyways, I do think triple Oracle, as long as it didn't go one at a time, was going to be enough firepower. Now going for the actual counterattack. However, the 2 Cyclones lose their lock-on. That sucks for Clem. ShoWTimE finds 5 SCVs, denies the aggression, all while getting a 3rd base and saving his Oracles. His little ground army's even still intact, just chilling. It's like, it's a pretty freaking good game for ShoWTimE. But so was the last game. And we saw what happened. Yeah. He's going into Phoenix Colossus. Yeah, he's basically just getting everything at once after a triple Oracle opener. So it's a very late production board. But it's a familiar one. Just a little bit later. ShoWTimE should be prepared for any aggression as his shield battery is very properly placed. His economy is pretty much exactly where he wants it. He has to add too many more probes until he's ready for a 4th base. And he even has 3 Phoenix now guarding against a drop. The timing could not be any worse. The observer is there, please. Plith. He didn't notice. He's paying attention to this attack on the front lines. 1 stasis trap catches 1 cyclone, and hey, that's something. But the medevac did manage to go through the potential Phoenix defense. Ugh, my heart. Ooh. That pylon depowers. Oh, the Stargate. I thought it might depower one of these gateways, but nope. This will depower not just the gateways, but also charge. 8 seconds to go. And the medevac might even be able to unload a little bit. It won't be unloading anything important if the Phoenix continue to chase. No! Everything going to shit all at once again for ShoWTimE as his defense on the 3rd base is now also in question. Wouldn't mind pops off. Cyclone's still alive. Maybe locking on to some very important unit. Shield battery overcharge. Not going to help out. Not enough. Oh, no. Why? Why, God? Why? It is a rather stimmed up army, but with the Widow Mines popping off, ShoWTimE's reinforcements are not going to be enough to take advantage. Phoenix come forward, they're finally dealing with that medevac drop, and that might actually send Clem packing just enough here. Good dodging of his own Widow Mine, by the way. I think ShoWTimE very much was looking to drag that Oracle on top of the weakened units. Reinforcements come through, and ShoWTimE cannot give the chase that he was really desiring, as now he is forced to flee. Clem could even continue pushing down on that pedal, attacking his 3rd base that is now shield battery-less. Only 1 Colossus to deal with is also not all that much for 13 Marauders. Oh, 4 medevacs. We're looking for the main base. The weak one on the front of the Phoenix does go down, but after unloading. Stasis Trap doesn't really catch all that much, and I would say the threat of the drop is still very much real. Like, it's caught. It has to now stand its ground and defend. But the threat of another attack is absolutely real. There it is, left side. Just a couple of units going in, looking for the probes. Recall is going to have to be used. What is recall? The Colossus, by the looks of it. And a handful of Zealots, but oh no, the Colossus once again recalling into just the slightly wrong location. And even without medevacs, we have Clem continuing to aggress. He's looking for some big victory here. He's been denied thus far. He's not quite finding the momentum, the overwhelming numbers like perhaps he was hoping after the kind of 1-2 punch that he did. And Clem is once again on the retreat. ShoWTimE not going to chase any farther. He really doesn't have the army that is good at chasing anymore without those Phoenix included. Just Zealots go in a straight line. And they're going to get massacred by the reinforcements, especially because Clem has had +1 attack this entire time. And the Zealots do not have armor. And in fact, it's +1 attack on the way, and that's very far away from actually finishing. At least the buffed Extended Thermal Lance did finish. So that's something. But it is still only 1 Colossus against 19 Marauders, all being rallied to the front lines. Everything combining together, by the way. ShoWTimE, hopefully with all of his army in one location. It looks like it, but it isn't enough. Half the army supply, no shield battery prepared, and a good old concave is going to seal the fate of ShoWTimE in this game. GG! It's Clem, once again, has a subpar opener, and still manages to make the mid to late game look, well, not easy, but very, very Clem favored. I would not say anything went particularly wrong for ShoWTimE. I don't think he misplayed anything like he did in the first game. He definitely misplayed in the first game. But the second game, he didn't really misplay, did he? Just a very tough game to play against Clem, who's finally in action. He's got his 5 racks, he's got his minerals mining, and he can focus entirely on his micro. Not looking any better today. I mean, ShoWTimE, it really looks fine for majority of the early game, some of the mid game. So I'm not going to say that every individual game is just super one-sided, but and I'm sure that's the case for the last 6 series they've played. That just because there are 2 zeros and 3 zeros doesn't mean they're all one-sided, but it does feel like more and more as we watch these games develop that Clem just has ShoWTimE's number. Doesn't matter what happens to give ShoWTimE an advantage or a lead, confidence boost, doesn't matter. Clem gets to bio, and Clem goes fast. Gotta go fast. Bottom right, Clem. Top left, ShoWTimE. ShoWTimE's last life in this best of 5. Last chance to stop the 7-loss streak. Please, no. Of course, they've all been on relatively unimportant matches, I believe. Of course, he would have really wanted to qualify into the Africa TV Champions Cup. But the rest of them are open cups, which aren't important, frankly. They're not. I mean, they're helpful, they're very good, and it's, I think, an amazing system. The amount of, the just right amount of actual competition, little prestige, a little bit of money, a little bit of EPT points. Like, it's all very good, but it's not the most important tournament, right? But, you know, with a 7-loss streak, potentially, should they play in something bigger? I mean, of course, favorite Clem. Thank you, Juggernaut Jason, for that raid. Clem is a beast. He's a monster. His control over the bio, when he is able to fully focus on his control, is possibly unmatched. Cure and Maru, both very good at TvP as well, though, so I'm not... Cure might still be the best. Probe's gonna have to leave. There you go. But it's really quite scary. Because obviously a lot of the pros, the top tier Terrans, can individually micro like Clem. Pull your Marines back, let the Colossus kill the Marauders, or shoot the Marauders rather. Not kill them. Pick up individual Marauders for, you know, healing. Get a concave correctly. Like, most pros can do that. The thing about Clem, though, is not only is all that micro, the individual, very, like, minute micro going very well, but he's also just so freaking fast. So he's constantly picking up and unloading and threatening and giving you a false insecurity, and then suddenly, boom, he's got the entire army when he thought it was going to be 2 attacks. These reinforcements are almost always controlled as well, so you think, oh, I'll just interrupt his reinforcements. Those get controlled. Run-bys do still give him problems. I mean, this is still something that MaxPax does very well against Clem, is to always have something that he has to worry about back at home. But even then, unless you are as insistent at such things as MaxPax is, again, one of the best Protoss players in the world, Clem seems to deal with it better than most. So ShoWTimE is not MaxPax, probably not better than him. And even if he were to suddenly start throwing bodies at Clem just to be like, please, love of God, leave me alone, probably wouldn't go as well. We'd see Clem's amazing defense that has been especially developed thanks to all of his games versus MaxPax. Clem just really seems like almost the whole package. The only reason it's almost is that his early game has been mediocre to bad. Not necessarily because of him, just like the circumstances. They've not been particularly good. I'm not looking at these series, the games in this series, and saying, well, you know, Clem just won this, and then he won that, and then it's easy peasy, he won the 3rd time. If anything, he's almost making either a big comeback, like in the first game, or he's making like a small comeback in the 2nd game. But he, nonetheless, does make the comeback happen. Once again, ShoWTimE with what looks to be perhaps another triple Oracle build. Yep, triple Oracle. Just needed the minerals. Clem has gone into a 1-1-3. I don't know how to describe this build. There needs to be a better way to do it. Barracks Factory, Barracks, Barracks. The BFBB. I nailed it. So he's going to have a very large ground army. And even though his medevacs will be later, his army on the ground is going to be pretty intimidating. So ShoWTimE dipped in with the Oracle and would have seen this. He did not. Just kidding. I thought I got close enough. I was completely wrong. He is not close at all. He needs to kind of see this. Alright, there you go. And he just grabbed all of the... Oh, Marines! Cyclone needs to be controlled! Oh, Miss Micro! I think... Actually, he might have anticipated the Oracles retreating and was trying to chase them. But either way, the Cyclone does die. 1 Oracle dies as well. So far, an okay trade, but 2 Oracles with just a little bits of energy left over. Don't you just love that? Gonna kill 8, 9... At least 9 SCVs. Little bits of where you think they're out of energy, and they never are. That's the thing. That's what's so cool about Oracles. They're like, they're out of energy almost. I won't lose that many SCVs. They just lose the entire mineral line. Yeah. Anyways, Clem is clearly prioritizing the attack, hoping to catch ShoWTimE off guard, and ShoWTimE was very nearly caught off guard. 2 shield batteries finishing just in the nick of time. So close to not being done. Clem has also made this into a 2-base attack. I'm not sure that was originally his intention, but now that's what it is. 2 tanks sieged up, but relatively unguarded. 1 goes down. Bio just took down a shield battery and an immortal. Now coming back to protect the tank. Charge not done, so that's why these tanks have actually lasted longer than I would expect. Nothing has been able to jump on top of them and kill them quickly. Oracles come back into play. Again, just a little bit of energy, but just enough to do it. And ShoWTimE will win game number 3. Finally, his early game developing into a insurmountable lead. That's what you want. Thank you, Naked German, for 35 months. I missed the past 6 months. Olivera, want to Katowice? God, stupid lights. We do get ourselves a game number 4. In the top left of Babylon, it is ShoWTimE. Bottom right, it is Clem. Finally, ShoWTimE getting a good start to the game and able to win because of it, as opposed to kind of fumble and then retreats, build up, and give Clem the opportunity to get to 2-base biomedivacs. Really seems to be the problem. Like, as soon as you let Clem get to 2-base biomedivacs, then you're just gonna have a problem. No matter what advantages you gained. Much easier to cut the head off the snake, try and wrangle it, I suppose. I don't know if that's true, but I'm going with it. Clem, though, also did make a very rash decision, I would say. He did not have to go for the attack. I actually don't... I haven't seen the 2-base 3-1 all-in a while. It did exist on, like, Moondance? That's what it was? Moondance was very popular for it. I haven't seen it since then. And I still don't think that's actually what Clem wanted to do. But I'm not... If you want to do that, why not pull the SCVs? At least some. Like, not all of them, but 6 or so. It's usually what would happen. So I think that was a response. And going under the assumption that it was a response, I think it was a rash one. The Oracles came in, killed more Marines than ideal to start the decision-making. He pulled back with the Marines that were leading the charge, and that was certainly enough to deal with the Oracles. But then decided to let the Oracles chew on his SCVs on the main base. And instead go for the attack. Now, I say it's a rash decision. Not to say that it was necessarily a bad one or something that is not understandable. I think it's very understandable. But I do think that it was made in the spur of a moment, certainly not pre-planned. And perhaps hindsight 2020, he would not have done the same thing. But it does make some sense, especially if Clem is also human, as we are, and did the, oh, the Oracles don't have enough energy thing. It's a quick glance at the energy bar. They don't look like they have much left over. Okay, 6 SCVs die. I'm okay with that. And then suddenly 12 die. That makes your push really need to do damage. Cannot play around with that push. So, yeah. An unfortunate decision made in this heat of the moment. We do have Clem going into a very different build order. Should be able to hide it. I actually don't know. No, the Adept Shade should not be able to see the factory. Yeah, thank goodness for that nerf to the Adept Shade vision years ago. Because if the factory was scouted, then that would have been really suspicious. I mean, that would have boiled it down to 3 options, maybe? Third CC, 3 racks, and a, oh, that's not a factory, it's a barracks. Doy. I need to check myself. I need to be better than the Adept Shade. Holy shit. So let's reformulate that. If it was scouted and it's a second barracks... Yeah, 3 racks would have already built its 3 barracks. So yeah, he would have known it's a 3rd CC. I figured it out. I got there eventually. So, important thing is that he did not see that, but his Oracle eventually will. He also, without an Oracle and Observer, he might have also picked up on the lack of, like, Widow Mines, Hellions, drops, right? But this is the fastest way he's going to be able to scout a 3CC. It doesn't necessarily mean that he can respond to it, though. think the fastest scout would have been a sentry second or something. Sentry first doesn't really happen a lot. In the hallucination, and then maybe you would have been able to change your build and your third base timing based off of it, but I'm not sure you could with an Oracle Scout. And there's not really much aggression you can do either, which is also important to note. This is really just about whether or not ShoWTimE can adapt his build into something more greedy, because he cannot be aggressive at the Stargate opener. The most he can do is send Adepts and Oracles across the map and hope that they do something, but that seems unlikely. Clem has maybe not enough Marines if they're spread out like this, but when they're all together, he does. And since he's getting away with the third CC anyways, he just goes ahead and adds on 200 minerals worth of missile turrets. It's not the biggest of deals when you're going to be getting away with such fantastic economy. Especially as he sees the Oracle, he might actually also assume that he can get that third CC down on location ASAP. No hesitation there. Because I don't, like, even if ShoWTimE saw this and went, oh, you bastard, and went for, like, a Twilight Council in charge, I mean, I don't think that would hit in time. I don't think that would be the play there. So yeah, the third CC is pretty safe. It will be denied. Cheeky stasis trap, gonna force a scan. Oh, just kidding. I gave ShoWTimE too much credit. I am all over the bad calls today. The Oracle is absolutely supposed to get the third CC stop, though. I'm pretty sure about this. Adepts are looking to jump on top of the Marines, but that is not all of the army of Clem. The Adept Shade actually finishes just as the reinforcements arrived. Oh, no! And the Oracles are going to be happy to backstab. There's not that many SCVs to backstab. 5 SCVs go down. Factory. Oh, I did know. I'm so happy to see Clem do this. I do this all the time. He rallied all of his production while his factory was still lifted. So his reactor is quite late now. I'm just happy that he's human. He is going to still attack, of course, even without some Widow Mines, which if his factory had placed the reactor as intended, he'd probably be building Widow Mines right now. So perhaps the first attack wasn't going to include Widow Mines anyways. But yeah, now a little bit later. First attack still looking pretty intimidating. Observer gets scanned instantly. Oracles are pretty much out of juice. They're not going to be able to support. And we are just seconds away from having combat shields to really complete the Terran army. And guess what? Clem is in bio-medevac focus mode. Oh, and the Guardian Shield, usually so freaking effective against this type of army. And it is still effective. It's not going to be enough. Not enough firepower from the rest of the Protoss army to kill the units, even as the Protoss army itself wasn't being killed particularly fast. And now the Guardian Shields are gone. Immortal also gone. Colossus remains almost alone. More Stalkers reinforced, and that should do the trick. For now. Clem does now have a heavier Marauder count. Medevac's continuing to reinforce, and again, he is not having to worry about anything back at home. Defend sentry first. It's good, I swear. I know. There was like 2 weeks where pros are trying to make it a good thing. I don't think it's stuck though. 3 medevacs trying to enter into the main base are denied thanks to the Phoenix. Actually took Clem a little while to acknowledge that it was denied. Almost lost the medevac. Gonna take what he can get, which is gonna be a gateway. I don't know if he can reach the Simon X score. Yes, he can. Absolutely, 100%. ShoWTimE has to move his Colossus to go respond to that, but as soon as he moves his Colossus, he loses his defense at the third. He knows that. Oh no, loses the sentry. Oh, and another Widow Mine unaccounted for further weakens his L count. The 7X core did go down, and look at this. Clem even saw an opportunity to jump on top of the main base. I was not expecting that, and neither was ShoWTimE. GG cannot withstand the pressure that Clem applies once he's got his 3 base setup. Bio and medevacs. It's just so freaking good at this game.